So, this started out as a 15,000 subscriber special. Now it's moved on to a 22,000 subscriber special. So let's answer some questions. So this first one comes from my boy Johannes, and he asks, what's your favorite weapon or weapons from every Fallout game? I see what he's doing. He's tested my Fallout credibility right off the bat. Okay, so that's a little tricky. So Fallout 1 and 2, I'm gonna pick any weapon that has like a really punchy sound effect because I love the sound design of the first two games. Every weapon sounds like it just wrecks anything it touches. But so one of my favorites is I think it's the 10mm SMG. You know, the one Ian has where it just goes like that when you shoot into anything. It's just such a beautiful sound effect. And the second one, I'm gonna, like my other option from Fallout 1 and 2, I'm gonna say any of the energy weapons, because the energy weapons in Fallout, like all the ones like post 1 and 2, I feel like the energy weapons are a bit more soft sounding. There's an old making of Fallout 3 where one of the sound designers talks about how he doesn't want the laser guns to go pew pew pew, and then they end up going pew 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 in the game. So I'm not really sure what that complaint was about. But in Fallout 1 and 2, I like how the energy weapons, they all sound like when they hit something, you hear a big fucking when they go into the enemy, and just, oh, it's a beautiful sound. So like, you know, the laser rifles or the plasma, is it plasma caster? Yeah, those things are beautiful and they make me happy. For Fallout 3 and New Vegas, they're both shotguns. So 3 is going to be the combat shotgun. I made a little short about it once because I just love how meaty it feels. Same thing for the hunting shotgun in New Vegas. Shotguns in New Vegas, they are like borderline overpowered to an extent because Fallout New Vegas shotguns, they knock everything down. I think it's coded weird. Like, it's supposed to be like every, like, I think it's like 10% per shot. It's supposed to be that they knock things down, but it's actually ended up being 10% per pellet, which means, like, every time you shoot someone, there's like a 50% chance they fall over, but the hunting shotgun has got a beautiful sound to it. That's kind of my main thing. Like, why do you like this gun, Lee? Oh, it makes funny sound. Now for 4's going to be a weird one. So I play Fallout 4 almost exclusively on survival mode because I love how it makes Fallout 4 almost feel like Hotline Miami in a sense. Like, everyone dies in like one shot, including you. So it's less about what gun has the most punch and more what shoots the most bullets into my enemy as quickly as possible before they can fill me with bullets. And usually that comes to any sort of like rapid fire weapon, anything automatic. So a special place in my heart was created for the pipe rifle of all things because it's easy to upgrade, reliable, you can find like 1,000,000 trillion bullets for it everywhere, and just, it fills your enemy, it just pumps them full of lead immediately, and it makes me happy because I feel like I'm going to die less when I just go around a corner, essentially. Now, I prefer the way this makes me like interface with the crafting system because when I play Fallout 4 normally, you're focused on what's got the biggest number on it, but I remember because you can add like braces to the rifles, which makes them kick back less, and that's not really a huge issue if you're like sniping because ideally the more kickback, the more it's putting a hole in something. But it made me think of the weapons differently, which I thought was really interesting about survival mode. So like the guns I was making, like when I was playing normally, it'd be like, right, here's my rifle, it shoots this way, this powerful, and it blows through things. Now I'm like, well, I don't care necessarily how powerful it is because it doesn't really make that big a difference. I just want to be able to unload as many as I can in the shortest period of time, and the braces make it so when I like hold down the button for a second, I'm not pointing at the sky within 3 minutes. One question in, and I've already been recording for 3 minutes, so this video is probably going to be a mess. This next one is a controversial one from the man, the myth, the legend, Brandon Ferretti, and he asks, who's your favorite, Amy, Emily, Cass, or Slothy? And this will be a quick one, it's gotta be Slothy. Nothing better than a bit of Slothy in your life. Listen here, so my girlfriends mean nothing compared to Slothy. Slothy is love, Slothy is life. You know, if you guys haven't watched Sloth streams, you need to, they're magical. When he gets into arguments, he just gets himself in trouble every time, and it's amazing, and I love watching Sloth stream. When he gets a bit drunk, and he gets a bit aggressive, and people ask him questions, he just spews things out, and it's hilarious. I once asked him, as a joke, how big is his penis? And he just told me. Like, you're never gonna get that sort of quality anywhere else. If you want to know how big Sloth's winky is, go watch his streams. That's a glowing endorsement, I'm sure. Moving swiftly on, the real Bingo Bongo asks, would I ever do a short or a long video interpreting people's comments, specifically about the Fallout campaigns? Well, it depends what you mean, because shorts, although I would love to do shorts drawing things based on what people say, there's only so many hours in the day, so I'm gonna pull a James Rolfe and say, as much as I would love to, I don't have the time for that, as beautiful and as hilarious as that would be. Now, just reacting to them, I've done that before. I really should do another unpopular opinions video at some point, because those were quite fun last time we did them. We got some very strange opinions last time, so I could definitely ask people, I think that'd be a good idea, actually, if we were like, hey, what ending is the best? Give me your reasons. Controversial opinions welcome. That would be pretty entertaining. Okay, next question. Alicia asks, what made you like Fallout 4 all of a sudden? Now, this comment is 2 months out of date. That tells you how long it took me to put this together. But I think they're referring to the fact that I suddenly started making a bunch of Fallout 4 shorts after previously making a buttload of Fallout 3 ones and New Vegas ones. But I've always liked Fallout 4. It's not the best by a long shot, but I'm very emotionally attached to Fallout 4 because I was very hyped when that was coming out. That was like, I think that's the most excited I've been for any media franchise before or since. So I'm quite emotionally attached, even though I think that game has its problems. But I think Fallout 4 has a lot of things in there that I think are quite interesting or quite funny. It's, you know, ripe, like, material for shorts content, because a lot of my shorts are based on, hey, isn't that thing weird? And that's most of my shorts. That's how I'd sum them all up in a nutshell. Draw a weird comic about, I don't know, I'm Canadian, about some weird, obscure little detail I noticed, because, you know, you get a lot of Fallout trivia out there, and you know, because I think we found out I'm not the most reliable when it comes to factual reporting when it comes to Fallout. I'm a lot more about, hey, I think of this, as noted by my video about companions arguing, because apparently not in the game, false memory. But I do think that's more interesting, because you can go anywhere to find Fallout trivia that's just factual. You know, this is more about my experience, what I'm doing in the gaming world, and quite frankly, it's a mess, so don't expect research videos. I just talk about what I find interesting, and at the time, I thought Fallout 4 was pretty interesting. I'll probably make more going forwards. And yes, I will include more Piper tea. Now, this isn't a question, but Brandon has decided to put a bunch of the member emojis underneath this that imply very dirty things. So bad boy Brandon, back in the closet. Okay, we have another question from Alicia asking, did you ever play Payday 2 or Payday the Heist? If so, who was your favorite heister? I've never played the Payday games because I've been told they're pretty difficult to get in at the best of times, and I'm not the best at coordinating with people. So most likely if I played Payday, it would be a huge mess. But I am quite into my Payday lore, which I think is really, really interesting. And favorite heister? A special place in my heart for Jacket from Payday 2. I think he's pretty funny. I like how he talks with a little tape recorder, so it implies that he's got 3 hands sometimes, or he's using some other appendage to operate the tape recorder to say things. I like how the devs try to say he's the real Jackie, even though it doesn't make sense in canon. I think Hoxton's pretty interesting. I like how he's this weird, like, British person. It's weird you get very rare British representation in these games. I like how he gets mad. I think it's Dallas's brother. I think his name's Houston. He gets mad at Houston because they replaced him. And I think it's hilarious and really petty that Hoxton's just like, no, I don't like you. Now, I haven't brushed up my Payday lore in a while, so I am not entirely sure how accurate it is. I also like how, was it Tony Montana they put in the game for a bit? And he's like, we don't know if this is the real Scarface, but he seems pretty okay at what he's doing, so we're just gonna kind of pretend. And then there's the best heister, Ethan Klein, which I'm sure everyone loved. Weedway Cookie asks, do you kill Ulysses at the end of Lonesome Road? I mean, I try not to if the build allows it, because I feel like for all Ulysses' very murderous intent, I feel like his heart's in the right place. He just understands how messed up everything is. So I don't think he necessarily deserves to die. I don't think he's done anything that he deserves dying for, but I think he did help a bunch of the Legion's destruction happen. But then again, he didn't exactly have a choice in that, so I don't think it's fair to hold it against him. And I feel like if you could sort of like be like, hey, be my buddy, we'll make a better world together, I feel like he'd make the right choices if given the correct abilities. But I remember the first time I played that, the game's very cheeky, because what it does is it dangles this little 100 speech check in front of you and goes like, ooh, this is the one that will help you win. But if you click that one, he gets mad, because it's obvious you're not actually paying attention to what he's saying, you're just pressing the correct speech checks. And I think it's a clever idea. I just wish the game would do that sort of stuff more often, where the speech checks aren't the best option, because it kind of takes you off guard, and I think the only other time this happens in canon is with Dean Domino and Dead Money, which I have opinions on, and I'm not happy about. But yeah, no, I do usually want to let him survive if my character allows it. The Milkman asks, how much to buy Amy? How about Amy? How much do you think you're worth?
I want to remind you that human trafficking is illegal, Leroy. You cannot sell me, you bastard. Also, don't make it out like I would get the money. Like, you would get the money and shove me off. No, fuck you. He's gonna literally give me money and I'll go over there. And even then, no! I'll just steal his money and then, like, evil laugh somewhere abroad. I don't know. go back to fucking. Oh, is he in America? Okay, we won't go to America. The point is, no.
What a diva. Very Fat Frogs asks, how many grams of uranium can you eat? Well, I know what I'm doing on my next stream. Devil Red 18 asks, if you could have any Fallout companion as a real life friend, who would it be and why? For similar reasons, I would say both Arcade Gannon and Piper, because I think they'd be fun people to talk to. They sound like they're very opinionated people that I think it'd be fun to sort of poke and prod at, essentially. And I just think they're both cutie pies. Funny Name Swag has asked, if you could make any mainline Fallout game disappear, which one would it be? You can't pick the obvious. Oh, that's a really, really tough one. So I think I'd have to chalk it up between 3 or 4. And it's not because I dislike either of those, it's just, of all the options I'd have to pick, I think those two are the ones that I think would be most likely to go on the chopping block. The reason I'd say 3 is because 3 is sort of the one with the least going on in it compared to the others. However, I do really appreciate 3's vibe. It feels the loneliest, the most sort of like liminal, if you know what I mean. Like, 3 is the one where I feel like I'm actually walking around a civilization that's been destroyed. And then 4, because 4 is a very strange one. In the sense of it's just so different to the others. Like, let's say the franchise just ended at New Vegas. I feel like, yeah, you know, we had some good games and I'd always want more, but like, I think what I've got here is good enough, if you know what I mean. But could you imagine if we just completely skipped 4 and went to 76? I think we'd all be so mad. Now my boy, Wilkins Coffee asks, what made me start drawing and what's my biggest inspiration for art? So I've told this story a couple times and everyone always tells me it's really anticlimactic whenever I say it. But I say realistically, the reason I started it was because when I was a little kid, I used to just draw all the time and everyone would say, wow, those are really good drawings. And you know when adults tell you things when you're a little baba and you think, wow, they're telling the truth, you don't realize they're just complimenting you to try encourage your self-esteem. Because of that, I just sort of kept at it and at it and at it. And eventually it just kind of became my life at that point. It was something I did really enjoy doing. Like, it wasn't like, oh, I just do this because I feel like I have to. But at the same time, I think the main reason I started off was because I sort of almost viewed it as my thing. Like, this is the special magical thing that makes me unique. I'm pretty decent at drawing. I think it helps by my, like, natural interest in storytelling in general. Like, it's always something I've been super invested in. I love stories. I love explaining life through little tales because I think life is just a series of stories. I think that's the way to tell if you've had an interesting life is you've got a life full of stories. I do sort of wish I could have gotten more into writing stories, like, throughout my younger years, and it's something I sort of feel like I've fallen out to. It's something I feel like I've tried to get more into with Scarlet Ranger stuff, because I don't know, I just making my own stories does sound pretty fun, but it's something I've had so little experience in, because writing's very difficult. I struggle with it. But also, I think art has sort of fed into that, because I'm not really much of a writer. I don't really vibes with the idea of, oh, I'm gonna write a story, because whenever I read books, you know when you read fan fiction, and there's all this lovely flowery language, and it doesn't really add to anything. I think it's all a bunch of nonsense, because I'm a big fan of green text stories. I love the absolute minimal writing style, but I feel like that's what sort of comes in with art versus, say, writing a book. Like, the green text style is very minimal. Same thing with the art. It's like, oh, if Dave walks into a room, I've just got to draw Dave walking into a room. I don't have to go, Dave took his first steps into the room incredulously. He admired the purple wallpaper that looked like it was peeling from age, and saw the big butt plug on the table and thought, that looks lovely and tasty. Whereas in, like, a comic, you just sort of draw that, and I think it's a lot more accessible than reading. It's the same thing with my videos. Like, I could maybe start a blog and start being like, hey, here are all my favorite things about Fallout, and just write about them, but I feel like it's not quite as accessible to the readers as if I just draw a comic and go, hey, I like this character, he funny. I could probably make an entire video just going over this topic for like quite a long time, but the TLDR is basically, I like art because it lets me tell stories. And my biggest artistic inspiration has got to be, number one, the TF2 comics. Those things' art style is absolutely beautiful. And if you're a big fan of them, I think you can see how it's influenced a lot of my other stuff that's not Fallout related. Like in Scarlet Ranger, everyone keeps saying that Lenny looks like Scout because the TF2 comics art style has just been so influential to me. And second, it's just general sort of like black and white manga art, because I love the way that just it's absolute minimal for storytelling. It's just, here's the scene. We're not gonna focus on any fancy coloring. We're just gonna, here's the basics, here's the scene blocked out. Everything is as minimal as possible. That, and I just think it looks nice. At Shadowkey asks, if you were designing Fallout 5, what would you keep, what would you change, and what would you add? I mean, this could be an entire video in and of itself, but I think My ideal Fallout 5 would be Fallout New Vegas that has the gunplay and general engine of Fallout 4, because Fallout 4 is just really fun to play, but the story isn't the best, whereas New Vegas is kind of the opposite. It feels really clunky and janky, but the story is absolutely god tier. I would make more of an effort to make the crafting system more optional though, because I think it's one of my main issues with Fallout 4. It feels like if you're not specced into the crafting or the settlement stuff, you do generally miss out on a lot of that game, because the game almost expects you, it sort of like points you towards it and goes, hey, how about this? But unless your build is already centered around the settlement stuff, it's quite difficult. It's like how the local leader trait works to let your settlements be joined together in terms of their inventories, which makes a big difference when it comes to crafting, because if you've got an entire network of settlements, it makes things so much easier. But I think things like that should not be left up to charisma. Certain things these should be taken out and made more general. But I also think the settlements, if you don't really want to manage them, they should be automated to an extent if you want them to be. Because I'm quite big into the settlements. I did enjoy building little towns. I thought it was a lot of fun. But at the end of the day, I feel like it did really take away from the main game. And it was almost this mini game within a big game. So fun fact, I've never actually finished Fallout 4 because I get so sidetracked by the settlement stuff. I just know number go up, me make number fun. But also the settlement system, if you don't do it, it feels like it's like, you know when you've left like a Tamagotchi in your pocket for 3 years, it comes up and it goes, Father, why have you forsaken me? Because you get constant notifications, this place is under attack, that place is under attack, and you've got to put so much effort to it. And then you've got the infamous Preston coming on, always reminding you of the settlements. And it would be like, it would be great if you could just delegate a lot of that work to him and be like, Preston, go over there, sort these people out with some Minutemen, like sort of suit them up. Because it's like how Preston gives you the little flare gun that lets you summon Minutemen. But the Minutemen you get summoned, they're like level 1, and it's like most of the time they can't actually help you. And it's just sort of like, well, what's the point in any of this? I think you could do a lot, but I've mostly just turned into ranting about Fallout 4 here. To sum up, I'd want a game that plays like 4, but feels like New Vegas in terms of, I want the main plot to be something that we can sort of debate over and not just be like, yeah, let's maybe not be evil, because it's my main issue with 4. It feels like, you know, the Minutemen don't really feel viable. The Railroad, well, quite frankly, I'm not sure they can see 3 feet in front of them, so I don't know why we bother. The Institute are really inconsistent, and the Brotherhood are just the Sky, German nationalists, you know what I mean? And when I say there are no good options, I mean like there are no good options in terms of these options don't feel very thought through. It's not like with political parties where it's like, pick the option you think will do the best. It's just, these are all terrible options and they don't feel like they've been fully fleshed out. Like, it's not that the Institute are morally ambiguous. It's that the Institute don't feel like they were finished being written, essentially, because they're doing all these evil things, but when you talk to them, they're all like, oh yeah, we're good people. But there's no way to sort of confront them on the awful stuff they do, like you can sort of do with the NCR, where like it's open that, hey, this thing isn't great, but you know, it's what we have to do. The Institute just go, no, we never did anything evil ever. This rant is another video in and of itself, so we're moving on. So Gobaliga Discursit asks, number 1, any advice for beginner artists? I'll give you 2 simple things. Number 1 is try not to be embarrassed about your art if you think it's not very good, because that'll stop you from doing it further and actually improving. And then number 2 would be try to draw lots of different things. I know this is coming from the guy that draws nothing but Vault Boys, but I found my art improved a lot when I tried to draw different kinds of things. So just take different characters from different series that have different art styles and just try to draw them all and practice really drawing them. And it'll give you things that you'll be able to learn and take to different art pieces, if you know what I mean. Like when I was a younger lad, I used to really be into my Sonic styled art. So all the characters I drew were very Sonic inspired. They look like Billy Hatcher characters almost. And the thing I felt improved my art a lot more was when I decided, okay, I'm going to try to draw like more realistically proportioned people. And they look like ass to begin with, because they always do when you start drawing. And I didn't think I'd enjoy it initially, but the more effort I put in to try copy that sort of style to make things look more realistic or anything different that I wanted to draw, I felt I enjoyed it more, and it made the art improve because I was having fun and I felt like I was doing better, like trying to step out of my comfort zone. So try not to find a comfort zone, even though this is coming from Funny Vault Boy Man. And their second question is thoughts on the Half-Life games. I do love me some Half-Life. Half-Life lore is so dark, it's kind of weird, because the weird thing about Half-Life, so it's about a multi-dimensional like, society coming over to take over Earth in really gruesome ways. But when you play it almost doesn't, like, let on how dark it is, because it's like, oh, here's the awful dystopian city, but then we go to Kleiner's lab, and it's like, wahee, woohoo, we're making Star Wars jokes. And then you actually start reading the lore, and you learn that all the characters, like, all the soldiers are, like, biologically augmented to, like, remove organs and attach other body parts to them, and it starts becoming very body horror-esque the more you look into it. And oh, it is so creepy and lovely. I'm terrible at it, though. So when I was younger, my brother used to play it on the bed next to me while I used to draw, so I know most of the game just because he used to play it constantly. Mew Mumuk asks, which factions would the TF2 mercs pick in Fallout 4? Well, that will be spoiling a future video series now, wouldn't it? Pillarmonsevery3 says, congratulations on reaching 15k. Oh, thank you. Blimey, this comment was 2 months ago and I'm on 22k now, Jesus. Have you heard of Team Fortress Classic, and how do you think the classes in there differ from the Team Fortress 2 mercs? I think we've seen this in the TF2 comics. I don't know if they're canonically the Team Fortress Classic team, because I think it's kind of implied in comic number 6 that they're not exactly that, because the Team Fortress is, I think in the comic, it's confirmed to be like one of the teams the administrator's running, not necessarily that they were once the TF Classic mercs and then they replaced them. Not sure if my TF2 lore understanding is correct, but that's how I see it. I will say, TFC Sniper seems like a really interesting character. I love how he's like just kind of a psychopath versus the Team Fortress 2 Sniper. He seems like he'd be a really interesting antagonist, but he gets kind of bonked out the way basically immediately and doesn't get used for anything, which is really unfortunate because he's actually kind of scary. And then you've got the Team Fortress Classic Heavy, who kind of reminds me of like a drill sergeant almost. Not in the same way Soldier is, because Soldier's kind of, well, cuckoo, but he sort of has that hardened military vibe to him, which is interesting, but not super interesting as an antagonist. The classic Pyro is confirmed to be a woman, and she's also a sadist. I don't know why they're all sadists. It's kind of a weird trend. I guess you've got to have a degree of sadism in you to be a mercenary, though, so who knows? Maybe it's normal. Maybe it's part of the job. Mia's Blob asks, what's the canon ending of Fallout New Vegas? I think based on the TV show, the canon ending is probably going to be the house ending. Although everything probably didn't go to plan as to what he expected. I think it would be a little bit peculiar if they picked any other option. Maybe Yes Man. Perhaps that could be the option, because at the end of the season 1, Hank is going there to talk to Mr. House, presumably. Like, I think it would be a little bit weird if Mr. House was cast like he was in season 1, and then he was just kind of forgotten. It's not completely out of the question, but it is, to an extent, sort of like, I feel like if they've signaled him that much, he's got to appear in some capacity in season 2, so I would be very shocked if he wasn't the person who controlled Vegas by the end of it. I think there is a substantial chance they would go for Yes Man, because I think he's a little too distinct of a character to not use, especially considering he's mostly voiceover. The guy who voices Chris from Dan Versus, I'm sure, who plays Yes Man, I'm sure he's not doing anything too posh right now. Maybe they can get him for season 2. I really doubt it will be the NCR, even though you probably could have some form of NCR presence there. And then there's a 0% chance it'll be the Legion. I'm going to say right now, there is no way the Legion are the main ones in power in season 2. I am prepared to eat crow though if I'm wrong, so we'll see. Cotton Joyce Fam asks, do you think Deacon is the lone wanderer, or is No Bark the chosen one? I don't think Deacon's the lone wanderer. I think it will be a jump in terms of personality, because it would be like, what, he goes through all those adventures in Fallout 3 and then suddenly develops this weird compulsive lying thing out of nowhere. Like, it just seems a little bit of a stretch to me. Like, I know Deacon drops all these references to Fallout 3 constantly, but I think he's just teasing 9 times out of 10 and there's no actual connection. No Bark being the chosen one, I think there's a bit more to this one just because it would be weirdly convenient. It's kind of funny. So you've got that guy hanging out in the Novak, the hotel, who's running away from Mr. Bishop, when Mr. Bishop's dad is right over there just hiding out in his own little hole. So there were those leaks a while back showing that Novak is going to be in the Fallout show in season 2. I would love it if they brought this up and like Novak is just the main character. His life has been extended due to radiation after he fell into the hole or something. And it's like, I'm the chosen one. I'm also a protagonist with my best friend the courier. How are we doing? That would be a mess. Fallout Guy Railroad asks, what's your go-to companion for each game? And if you could have any Fallout weapon IRL, which one would it be? So in Fallout 1 and 2, I usually play charisma characters, so I usually have a gaggle of companions follow me around, so there's not particular ones that I'm like, I need them. Just anything that can shoot, I'll hold on to them. Fallout 3, you know, it's my boy Forks. He's a little cutie pie, he's a sweetie pie. Mwah. Fallout New Vegas, it's gotta be Boone and Eddie. I just think they're the most reliable for getting jobs done. I do generally like all companions in New Vegas, but you know, when it comes to pure combat potential, Eddie and Boone all the way. In Fallout 4, usually I'm going for either automatrons or Codsworth, because I'm not sure if it's a bug or a feature, but Codsworth has a higher strength stat than most of the automatrons. So if you give him melee weapons, he does a buttload more damage than all the others. And melee automatrons, they do like some crazy amount of damage, like 300 damage per strike, and it's just, you got one of those guys following you. There isn't really much that can stand up to them, quite frankly. Bad Hair Piggies asks, what made you get into making videos? Well, that's quite a long and rambly answer, quite frankly. So initially, I set my channel up because I wanted to animate, but animation takes a long time, and quite frankly, I'm sort of done with animation to an extent, because to put in the amount of effort you'd need to make a full animation, it's just so much work, and I just can't justify it, because by the time you've made one animation, basically a whole year's passed, and it's like, you can't really run a channel and make it monetarily successful by just posting animations, unless you post stuff that's like really super duper topical or clickable. People make it work, but it didn't work out for me because my interests are very focused on Fallout. So I sort of got into making these little Fallout comic story-timey videos because they seemed more like they'd be able to get people's eyes on them rather than just making full-on parodies all the time. And now my goal is to basically build this channel up so that I can turn it into sort of a hub for my own personal little projects that usually are Fallout adjacent at the very least. Like, I'm hoping to sort of get this channel to be a way to promote Scarlet Ranger when I eventually get the rest of that out, whenever that's going to be. Right, so I'm recording this like a whole month later because I'm very organized, I can tell you that much. Right, so next question comes from Dat Boy, and they ask, have you considered playing other games or making more diverse content? There are other games out there besides Fallout. What is this nonsense? I mean, I've considered it. It's usually an issue of performance, to be honest, because not the main reason, but one of the main reasons I focus so much on Fallout content is because when a channel is very focused on a particular topic, it tends to grow quicker because the audience you find tend to be more specialized around the type of content you're making, essentially. I've thought about it here and there. You know, I used to make Sonic content way back when. That was a whole thing. That was fun. But that never seemed to sort of, like, build up as much momentum as the Fallout stuff. Probably mostly because I've got way more to say about Fallout than I do about Sonic, quite frankly, just because as much as I love me and my blue spiky boy, I don't feel like I have as much insight to give to that topic as I do with the funny blue Vault Boy man. Realistically, though, I've set myself up with a good game to sort of diversify into, because you've got Fallout, okay, you've got Fallout 1 to Fallout 4, and that's like 5 games. You can talk about a fair amount there, and then you've got all the mods. Like, it's quite a diverse topic, but also I've noticed I can talk about TF2 as well, and that seems to get a decent amount of attention because I feel like there's a decent overlap between the TF2 audience and then the Fallout audience. I've considered talking about Half-Life, Portal, Hotline Miami, and a few other games. So I could look into doing that in the future, but for the time being, we're focusing mostly on Fallout because I'm uncreative. But also, one of my other goals is to try and get invited to the premiere of Fallout Season 2, if that's possible at all. I'm not sure how likely it is, might not. Bethesda might think I'm rubbish, who knows. But you know what, I can try, and making Fallout videos is one of the main ways I'm gonna get there. So Cyber Controller asks, what's with the eye patch? That's a very strange question. I feel like I've answered it quite a lot of times. So the reason is, so Dr. Beam asked me a myriad of questions. I'm only gonna answer the first one because I feel like I've answered or one of the other two about the favorite weapon. That's the very first question. The other one about BioShock, maybe. I'm a little mixed about BioShock because it's one of those games where I know BioShock 1 is good, apparently. BioShock Infinite is mixed. BioShock 2 apparently isn't very good. And then you've got like System Shock 1 and 2, which are like sort of like spiritual prequels. Favorite game, that could be a whole video. I don't know if I want to answer that here. It'll make this recording even longer than it already is. But the first question I think is the most interesting. Who do you prefer, Lucy or Nora? And I just think the answer's got to be Lucy, because Nora's kind of a bit of a blank slate, quite frankly. She does have elements of backstory here and there, but she's mostly made to be the player character. So it's really hard for me to put Nora down as a character when realistically she's just more of the protagonist's backstory. So that one Romanian asks, if you were in Fallout, what drip would you wear, or would it be your own design? Well, I tend to draw myself with I think it's the mercenary grunt outfit, just because it's the most plain, I find. I don't like the idea of drawing myself too much in endgame armor, just because I don't want to come across as like, you know, oh, here's my endgame character, he's got this, he's got the Enclave power, even though I draw myself an Enclave power armor sometimes, because it's just the coolest armor in the game. But yeah, no, I don't like drawing endgame stuff just because it makes me come across a little bit too OP, and I don't like that. We like the challenge around here. So I'd say the Mercenary Grunts outfit, I think it's pretty cute, looking fine. And then late game, the Enclave Power Armor, because it's just so good. Maybe with like a unique paint scheme or something. Boxman7 asks, what customization options, if any, would you add to the Fallout games? I've always been a huge fan of decorated guns for some reason. You know, like when you see a character and they've got their unique weapon and it looks kind of different, like they've personalized it in some way. I wish we could have a system like that in a game, but I feel like it would be a lot of resources taken away for something only a fraction of people would use, if you know what I mean. Because like, it would be cool to change random parts of a gun to make it look unique in your own. But like I said, at the same time, I think most people will just use the gun and just optimize it the way they want. They don't really care how much it looks. But if it was my way, I would have that. I would have different like looking muzzles, paint jobs, random junk you can just stick to it. I want to stick a teddy bear to the end of a rocket launcher. For no reason, it just looks different. That's pretty posh. Kryzia asks about the eye patch again, which, you know, I'm really confused. I've explained this so many times because... Okay, so I'm offended by this next question. Smalley Big asks, do you like mustard or ketchup? Why not both? What is this discrimination? So John Starlin asks, if you could guarantee one feature being added to the next Fallout game, what would it be? I would say, maybe the weapon customization system from Fallout 4. I like that one. I think it's really fun to be able to optimize like the guns you can use in any way you want, because you can make some really diverse builds with them if you know how to use it. I do wish the crafting was optional and you could just like pay another character to maybe make them for you if you weren't running like a guns nut build, because I feel like the crafting is a little too essential in Fallout 4. So with that feature, I like it. It's fun. It makes me smile. Mwah. And the second question is, what's my favorite flavor of ice cream? It's gotta be chocolate. I'm really boring. I'll say chocolate, because like, there's nothing better than some chalky ice cream. Okay, so Demo Hammond has written an entire book of questions beneath here. I will answer those that I can. Number one, I haven't watched JoJo. I've told you, I've not touched it. I've heard it's amazing, but I haven't touched it. Very sorry. Number two, can Codsworth solo all of fiction? I think most of it. I think if you put Codsworth optimized as an automatron in any other Fallout game, I think he's going to be basically unstoppable. He does like 300 damage per hit if you build him right, and he gets like armor penetration and bleed, and it's like he's just crazy. Not to mention he's like hyper tanky, so probably most likely. Now, one of the questions is most nerdiest interest, and I think it would be making my gay little videos, quite frankly. Best fictional series besides Fallout? Ooh, tough one. I guess it's not necessarily a series, but I would pick Team Fortress 2, even though I don't know if you'd necessarily call it a series, because there's like, what, 2, 3 games maybe, but I love that lore, that world's universe and lore, if you know what I mean. Insert Namiya asks, why don't you talk about Fallout 3 as much as the other games? Well, Fallout 3 is one of those games that I think is a bit harder to talk about, because the thing about New Vegas and 4 is that they're very heavy on their, like, scripted stuff, like you're talking to people for a lot of Fallout 3 and 4. New Vegas and 4. But like in Fallout 3, it's a lot of just kind of walking around in the middle of nowhere, and it's got like its moments, but it's harder to sort of pick apart those moments of Fallout 3 versus New Vegas and 4, because like I've made so many videos about just the companions of New Vegas and 4, but in Fallout 3, they're basically just walking turrets, I think, as I said in like a different video, which is all well and good for like gameplay and everything, but like as much as I love the companions in that game, they're all basically just blank slates that don't say much after you recruit them, essentially. I do really like Fallout 3. I think it's really spooky and interesting, but at the same time, it's a harder game to talk about just because there's less actively going on at the moment, though. I would like to make more Fallout 3 videos, but I'm currently on a Fallout 4 arc, leave me alone. Beetha Breach asks, name 5 animals you would try to tame in Fallout. Okay, well, so number 1's gotta be the Deathclaw. I like the idea of having these hulking lizard dudes there to protect me. That sounds pretty useful. Number 2, you gotta go through the list of them, don't you? I kind of like Yao Guais for the same reason. Tame those guys. No one's gonna come near me. You see a guy in a settlement, he's surrounded by Yao Guais and Deathclaws. You're not gonna go near it. That's no point. Number 3, I like the mongrel dogs. They're sweetie pies. They don't deserve to be bullied. They're little cuties. Number 4, Mirelurks. I want to farm them. They look and sound delicious. I want to eat lovely big crab boys. And then number 5, cats, because funny. Cinnabuns insists, does Boone is gay? He better be. Right.